Hello people, welcome to the next episode of Late Friday Night's Banter Blitz. I'm International Master Andrey Ostrovskiy, and I'm going to play Blitz against you and to teach you some chess tonight, as usual, on Fridays. Okay, let's get to playing. As usual, I'm going to pick some guys, 3 or 4 I've never played before. Of course, if we have these guys among challengers. So, let me see, let me check. As usual, I want to know if everything if everything is all right with the stream. I mean, the picture, the sound, and so forth. Just let me know in chat, as usual. Okay, Giovanni already did that. Okay, so here we go. Let me see if we have somebody I've never ever played before. So here we go. Sebi, Johan Wilhelm Möbus, Formless, welcome back. Graf von Paulin, Chase Bohr, DR6, Manuel Smile 10. Alright, so we never ever played before. So I will accept the challenge. I'll accept the challenge, and I'm playing as white in this game. So here we go. E4. E6, so French defense. And knight to c6 line. Alright. So I'm going to play knight to f3, protecting d4. And now, what about bishop g5? Guess it's a move. So, what to do now? What about e5 here? Taking the bishop. And probably next move will be something like bishop to d3. Attacking the knight e4. And doing what? Doing not so much, but just trying to complete a development. Probably not the best line for white against this knight c6. Yeah, queen b4. Now, c3 is attacked, b2 is attacked as well. d4 is not handing because after double capture I have bishop b5 check. And taking the queen on d4 is a typical thing for such a situation. So I'm going to castle. Sacrificing the pawn on c3. Well, I mean, hopefully sacrificing. Because maybe it was just a blunder. So everything depends on, well, my ability to come up with some sort of initiative after that. Queen takes c3, so d4 is still invulnerable because of the king on e8. Even if black castles, it will be still the case. So what about rook to b1? Kind of stopping black from immediate bishop d7. Intending to put the rook on b3 with future lift towards the king side, maybe. So multi-purpose move, I guess. Now black has to make a decision what to do next. Castles. Okay, this may be very, very dangerous for black, in fact. So I will start with the rook b3 attacking the queen. And as I said before, my rook is ready to join the attack if there is an attack. And I have a feeling that I don't even have to calculate a lot. So let's just take on h7. Very typical, very, very typical pattern. Okay. So king h7, knight g5 check, then queen h5, rook h3, just a checkmate, I guess. By force. So I will attack the king with 3 pieces. And, well, look at this queen. It is just out of play, far away. So there should be no defense, I guess. So now, I think that rook g3 is better than queen g4. I basically create same threats, but the difference is that after queen g4, there is something like f5. After rook g3, f5 shouldn't be that great for black in general. Or, I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong. So let's see. Rook to g3. Let's say f5. Then what? Then knight takes e6. King goes to f7. No, knight takes f8. Probably king takes f8. And queen jumps to h5. Yeah, should be just winning. Okay, let's play rook g3 then. We'll see, I guess. After f5, e takes f6 is also an interesting possibility. If king takes f6, then what? Knight to h7 is possible, but I guess... Anyway, knight takes e6 is better. Much clearer, at least. Alright, king h6 was played. Don't think it helps, because now queen g4 should be winning. Just rook to h3 should be just a checkmate by force, I guess. So let's calculate. Rook h3, forcing the king to g5, then f4 with the pawn, or maybe just rook to h5. Rook to h5 is better than f4. And then if king f4, queen f3 checkmate. If king g6, then queen g4 checkmate. Yeah, just checkmate. Checkmate by force. The king is completely exposed. He is alone, and white easily wins. All right, this doesn't help because of queen h5. And after king f5, my knight controls e4, so this is a checkmate. Okay, I have a feeling that, well, taking on c3 was a bit risky, but still possible. I guess castling was a mistake. Castling was a decisive mistake. So instead of castling, what to do? Probably a good way to prevent this sort of attack is just to start with the h6. So without the dark squared bishop on the board, playing h6 is not that risky, so that's okay. To exploit this weakening of the king side, I should come up with something like g4, g5, but it takes time and it only gives white anything if king is already on g8, and even after that it's not that clear. So h6 was absolutely playable here. If I play rook b3, queen goes to a5. Okay, position remains quite complicated here. Of course, I can try something like have no idea, something like queen b1 even, just still exerting some pressure on b7, maybe even intending to take on b7 right now. Also having some ideas, some interesting ideas connected with queen to b2, where after rook a3 or rook b5 may become very, very dangerous for that queen. So the point here is that knight on c6 is misplaced. So in French defense, of course, the pawn should be on c5, and then knight goes to c6, but black played knight c6 prior to playing c5. So it's clear there is a problem with the coordination, but maybe black can solve it. I don't know, something ultra solid like knight to e7 or knight to d8 should be playable. So let's say knight to e7, why not? If I play rook to b5 here, it feels like black should be okay somehow. Probably not. Probably there is a problem because after queen c3, let's say, I have rook c5. Very annoying. So maybe queen to a3. Yeah, queen a3 is still okay. I mean, I don't have a decisive continuation here, so if I go back to b3, queen goes back to a5. Maybe knight to d8 is even interesting here. I mean, I know it's very passive, no questions. But white doesn't have a concrete object of attack at the moment. The difference here is that if I play rook b5, then queen goes to a3, and if I attack it again, queen can go back to e7, finally getting home. So after that, it will be very hard for white to achieve anything. So that was interesting at very least. So to play h6. Another possibility is just to start, I guess, with queen to a3. Maybe it's even better than h6. Then moving the queen to e7. So this is just the first and the most important task to bring the queen home. and actually to protect g5 square as well. So rook b3, let's say, I don't think queen a2 is very good, but probably even queen a2 is playable here. But I would have played something like queen e7 simply. And then if necessary, h6, castling, b6, bishop b7, and after all, black has extra pawns, something like this. All right. So let us continue. Let's have a look at the situation with challenges. So do we have, again, somebody I've never ever played before, so the second challenger in this list. Maybe whom? So Shrumel, all these guys I've played a lot. So Juan Meza from Mexico. Never played before, it says, so accept. Here we go. e4. Again, white pieces. Sicilian this time. And e6. So what do we have here? a6. All right. So sometimes I play this as black when I play Blitz. Bishop to d3 is one of the most popular moves against that, so I don't define the position of my knight b1 yet. Alright, queen c7, let's castle first. And now, let's try something not very conventional. I mean, queen e2 is a normal move here, but usually what does something like this already after the knight is on c3. But I have a feeling that it can be interesting to try to play c4 first, grabbing some additional space, I mean, and then knight to c3. Now it's very tempting to play knight d5, you know, this typical sacrifice on d5. It will be purely positional because there is no refutation whatsoever. I mean, refutation of e takes d5, of course. So I will have only one pawn, but I will have e-file open, I will have more space. This bishop on b7 will be very, very bad for a long time. Let's try this. Let's try this. Although I understand this is maybe not completely correct. But okay, bishop takes d5, of course, completely justifies my knight d5 move. Now I have pair of bishops. Well, very vulnerable light squares, especially after black's e5 move. It is the only move now because e6 is attacked several times. So, yeah, strange decision. Oh, another very strange decision. Now I grab the pawn. Just a blunder of the pawn. Okay. Okay. Maybe not even one pawn after f takes e6. I take two. Because I attacked the queen and g7. Yeah, it's lost already for black, completely. Already lost, so should I take here? Why not? And bishop to h6. Very simple development, combined with the further attack. King f7, okay, now check. And probably checkmate in 2, right? So check first, and then queen e7 next move. Yeah. Okay, so I have a feeling that if black wanted to actually avoid this knight d5, it was better to actually play bishop b7 castling prior to playing b6 bishop b7. So for example here, just play bishop e7, and after knight c3 you just castle. So there is no knight d5 anymore. And then you can play b6 bishop b7, knight d7, so typical hedgehog setup. So very solid, very interesting to play with both sides. b6 is not a mistake for sure. Knight to c3, here you still have a chance to play bishop e7. So now knight d5 isn't good because after e d5, bishop controls f5 first of all. It is a typical follow-up after this sacrifice. I mean, to have this knight f5 attacking the bishop, and you can simply castle, so you have extra material And I think white doesn't have a sufficient compensation, because after rook e1, let's say, attacking the bishop, you don't even have to play bishop d8 or something. You can disinterested move rook to a7, protecting the bishop. And I don't see how white is going to continue the attack. So even this position is playable, to be honest. So white still has some attacking resources. I mean, I can play bishop g5, then probably queen f3, but it doesn't look like a sufficient compensation for the minor piece anyway. So that was another possibility. Okay, after bishop b7, this knight to d5 looks really tempting, but after ed5, I wasn't sure we'll have, again, the complete compensation. It felt like a position with the compensation now, because if bishop goes to e7, now I have knight f5, attacking g7 and preventing castling, all right? So now my follow-up is rook to e1. It is not possible to play knight d7 because it breaks the connection between the queen and the bishop. So black definitely has serious problems here, in my opinion. Okay, king f8 is still playable, but again, I will just continue my attack with this natural move, rook to e1, attacking the bishop. Then bishop is probably forced to d8, or the knight is forced to g8, which is super ugly. So something like this, I guess, where after I can play bishop g5, now creating a sort of taking on f6, and then queen e8 checkmate. And this position looks rather dubious. By the way, there is also bishop to f4, very strong, maybe even stronger than bishop g5, because I don't see a good defense against bishop takes d6. So this position is definitely bad for black. But instead of playing bishop e7, it is always an interesting thing to play king to d8, like to try to run to the queen side, but this only adds to white's compensation in such a situation. So I can continue with rook e1, bishop g5, so also having in mind this knight f5 move. Also, once the king is somewhere on d8 or c8, I have additional plan of playing b4, c5, then opening the position on the queen side, and then gradually attacking the king and so forth. So the point here is the e-file, this great pawn on d5, limiting the bishop on b7, and actually more space. So black experiences some problems with coordinating pieces. That's the thing. So in any case, when you see something like knight e5, it makes sense to actually accept this sacrifice, because after bishop d5, white is simply better. Much better. So same pawn on d5 now, pair of bishops, light squares, so the things I mentioned during the game. But of course, e5 was the move. So e5 was the only chance, the only defense. Where after white is better, but white still has to prove it. And I think it would be not so simple. After bishop e7 and d takes c6, the game is over. In any case, thanks for the game. Let us continue. So one more guy I've never replayed before, so let's have a look. Stampertier. Not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but feels like we have never ever played. So I'll accept the challenge. I'll accept the challenge, and again white pieces. Wow, this is ridiculous. The third game in a row was white. Not so fair, I guess. And knight f6, knight c3. a6, all right, h3 now. e5, knight e2. So what's going on here? We have one of interesting lines in Najdorf with h3 and h5 moves. I've played that so many times already, I guess, within this shows. So knight e7, okay, bishop c4. Gonna just castle. Okay, bishop e7. So usually black tries to do what? To play g6 and bishop to h6. Bishop e7 is probably also possible. Then bishop will go to g5 at some point. Maybe. Don't know. We'll see. Alright, b5 is never dangerous. because there is no b4 move. My knight from d5 controls that, and b5 at some point may become my target, so I'm going to undermine that pawn and create some weaknesses in black's camp, okay? So Zweihaus X asks two questions. The one is about Bundesliga this weekend, and second, when will there be another thematic Learn from Chess Blitz session? So, yes, I'm going to play last rounds of Bundesliga this weekend. To be honest, I leave for Berlin tomorrow morning, so I'm also going to play in Blitz tournament tomorrow. So-called Lasker, yeah? And then there will be 3 last rounds of Bundesliga, so I will come back home on Tuesday's night. So there will be no training Tuesday on Tuesday next week, so probably it will be rescheduled somehow. As for Learn from Chess Blitz, not sure. Yeah. Cannot say anything definite right now. Okay, g6 was played, protecting h5, most likely preparing castling. Now let's try to understand what to do next. So there is a typical idea usually to play knight to e3, let's say, to try to exchange light squared bishops and to put another knight to d5. Also interesting is to play a4 here, undermining b5 and trying to attack a6 then. I don't know what is better. Knight to e7 also looks interesting in this position, weakening dark squares, and pawn d6. What to choose? Not so easy choice. There is also a strange move, knight to b4. Again, with the idea of exchanging the bishop, and also with the idea of knight to c6. Does it make sense or not? I'm not sure. f4 is also a possibility. So many possibilities. How to make a decision? I don't know. Let's try f4. I have no idea. So, now I attack the bishop, and it definitely forces black to take. And, well, these pawns f7, g6, h5 are quite vulnerable, I guess. Of course, knight will go to e5, at least protecting g6. But still, black's position is quite dangerous, I think. Not sure that I will have something direct here, but it already feels like attack on the king side. So maybe to capture on h5 simply, takes, queen h5, but then what? What is my follow-up? No, I'm going to play this the other way. So first of all, b4, trying to fix the weakness on a6. All right. Bishop to g5. Now I wanted to try this. Maybe it's wrong, but it looks so tempting. Rook to a3, bringing it to the king side. Bishop takes f4. Wow, really? Didn't expect that at all. I mean, now position on the king side looks completely weak without that bishop. That is a big mistake. I mean, okay, maybe there is no direct sacrifice or something, but oh my god, look at this f6 square. It's gonna be decisive. All right, let's bring the rook here. Let's forget about that. flank and focus completely on this one. Okay, what to do with this knight on e5? That's the question. That's the question. Maybe I should bring my knight to f5. Or maybe just knight to g4, exchanging it, where after position of that king will be completely exposed. Or almost like that. The only problem, I have only 40 seconds, so maybe I will lose this one on time, which will be very pity. What happened? King h7 was played. All right, let's bring the knight to g4 now. Okay. All right. Let's get closer. Let's get closer. Probably all this was a mistake. Yes. Most likely. I don't have time. I don't have time. This is very bad. Ten seconds. This is not gonna work. Five seconds. My goodness, it will be very pity to lose this one. Yeah, lost on time. Lost on time. All right, but okay, who cares? I didn't find a decisive continuation. There was the one for sure. Oh, yeah, very, very tough loss. So rook takes f4. This should be just winning. I mean, why didn't I play knight to f6? I think knight f6 just decides the game immediately. Like, no questions now. It's over. So just capture the pawn on h5 with the knight and rook g3, I guess. Or simply even without sacrifices, like rook to g3 right now. I probably don't even have to sacrifice anything in such a position. That was harsh. Okay, so knight h5 takes h5. Maybe it's not a decisive continuation because knight g6 is here. Probably I just overestimated my position in general. All right, how to play this correctly. So the way I played was also not that bad, I think. But here after rook g3, let's say, h4 is possible or not? Yeah, it looks like a possibility, but then knight to f6, king to g7. Also not entirely clear. My goodness. So king g7, queen h5, rook here, queen e2, a takes here. Well, I could have played, in fact, instead of this stupid knight to e3, just knight to b4. It's doing basically the same, trying to exchange this knight e5. At the same time, actually, grabbing the pawn, so I'm a pawn up now. All right, that was the first possibility. The second possibility was here. After knight g4, I saw that, by the way. But I wasn't sure there will be a checkmate. So just to take on f7, and after king g8 to take here on g4 with the queen. So king takes f7, queen takes g6. Oh, that was a possibility. Of course, that was a possibility. So after this, I just have queen g7. The king cannot go to the back rank because I grabbed the rook. And if king goes here, there's rook g6. Game over. Yeah, that was a possibility, of course. Another way to win the game. All right, but I captured on g4 with the rook. That was probably the worst possible move. So taking with the queen was much more promising. but it's still not as great as rook takes f7 immediately, which wins for sure. Yeah, PT thing. All right, but for black, well, I would say that first of all, as you can see, you still have to play g6 here, so it's better to do this with the bishop on f8. So you play g6, then bishop to h6 immediately, and then castles. So you control f4 additionally, and so on. Second moment is already here after this. So bishop g5 is too much. I mean, no, bishop g5 is okay. Bishop takes f4 is too much. So here, when I played rook to a3, I had a simple idea to bring it to g3, right? So what to do? Just play h4, control this square, and black is okay. So there is nothing specific, in my opinion, in white's position. Okay, this knights look good, but your minor pieces are also quite flexible and quite active. So I guess, well, this position is more or less balanced. All right. So after bishop f4, it is, of course, very good for white. Okay. Anyway, I lost. Very bad loss. Okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at other challengers. Let me see. Okay. Almost everybody. Now here is one more, Damiano chess. So let's play Damiano chess. And after that I come back to normal order of challengers. And feels like it will be the game with black pieces. Okay. It is d4, knight f6. g4. The same way Ginger GM played against me during the last Arena Kings. Okay, let's take it. I played d5, I think. Protecting the knight and counter-attacking in the center. Wow, f3. Okay, guys, I understand it's probably not the best thing I can do in this position, but it's really tempting to go crazy. Really tempting now. After f3, well, the first idea that comes to my mind is to bring the queen to h4. So. Let's try that. I'm already pawn up. Okay. I do believe f takes g4 was a move. Because if you don't accept my sacrifice, then what do you have? Or maybe I'm not right, because now I'm not sure that I have a good square for the knight. Because if I go away with the knight, my pawn e5 is hanging. That's probably a slight problem for black. Or maybe I can just go to h6, I don't know. Bishop e7, I guess, will be just too much. But I can take on e4 here, and if f takes g4, I take on d4. Yeah, that is the best move. All right, here we go. Look at this pawns. Never had such a position in my life. 92. Okay, now I think if I take on g4 with the bishop, then queen takes d4. That's the point, so let's just develop the pieces. Look, it is still pliable for white. That's really strange. Right, let's grab the pawn. And continue development, right? Just continue development. Let's play bishop to c5. Overprotecting d4, preparing castling short, preparing queen to e7. Preparing d3 if king goes to g1, I mean, after castling. So after this exchange, I think it's over for white. Almost over for white. Because this light square bishop was very important piece in the sense of defense. So now I don't know even. To play f6, winning the tempo, or to play queen d5, attacking the rook. Almost everything looks very tempting. Almost everything looks great. Have no idea what could be better. What would be better? So f6. Let's try f6. I'm not sure where the bishop goes. Okay, that is a move, but I can simply protect the bishop. And castles. Or d3. d3, rook takes g4. d3, rook takes g4. If I take on e2, then queen d8, rook d8, and rook takes g7. If instead I take on g4, white captures on d3. I don't know. Let's simply castle. I have so many pawns that should be alright anyway. Manuel Smile 10 says, can you accept my challenge? We have already played. We already played, I guess. At the very beginning of the show. So the first game was against you, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it something wrong with chat again? That's strange. Knight e2. Okay, now d3. Or just rook e8 first. Knight to b3. Bishop to b6. Or maybe even bishop to d6. Let's try rook e8. Okay. How to protect the knight e2 now? Okay, queen c4 check is possible. I missed that possibility. So I misplay the position a bit. Unfortunately. But it still looks very interesting. Still looks very good. Now, what to do? Let's bring other resources to the game. Rook here. So somehow I have no time again. This is just amazing. I'm too slow. I'm just too slow. Yeah. I expected rook to d4, to be honest. This is also interesting. Oh, fantastic. There is no win, or what is going on? Queen g1, king d2 is unclear. I'm going to lose this on time as well. Or what? Hmm. Oh. Oh my god, I didn't see this move. Okay. There is a checkmate, fortunately. Super crazy game. That was so strange, right? It started so great. I mean, with so interesting position in the opening, but then at some point I started misplaying it, and closer to the end, it was already absolutely unclear. So where did I make my mistake? I don't know. So I don't want to comment this opening stage. It was really interesting. It was really interesting, but if we will analyze it in depth, I think we will spend a lot of time. So here to start with, I think instead of knight c6 was it was much better to play c5 first, because after bishop g2, let's say I have very interesting, just a simple positional resource like playing e3. I don't know. It's very hard to play such a position as white g4 is hanging. I'm gonna play bishop d6, castling simply. So too many pawns, and all these pawns are very strong. But okay, so I played not the best way. Bishop c6, bishop g5. Okay, f6 probably was not that necessary. Maybe queen d5 was better, but okay. Here I thought about playing d3, but rook takes g4, h g4, and then what? C takes d3 or queen takes d3. Okay, I can take on d3 if queen takes, and then take on h4. Should be just good, very good position. So okay, white has pair of minor pieces against the rook, but I have again so many pawns, 3 pawns, right, at the moment, and some of them are connected passers. My rook is very active going to h1. Should be very big advantage for black here. So probably d3 was a normal move. I castled, where after this rook g4 happened, and my rook is no longer that active, but still, I should have played something much more convincing than rook e8 here, so probably d3. Why didn't I play d3? I have no idea. So after cd3, queen takes d3 leads to queen b3, right? So it's not that clear, by the way. Not that clear. Okay, but why didn't I play queen d5? That's another question. That is probably the move. Great and just a threat of queen h1, right? So that's fantastic. So here I started playing very badly. So I played rook e8, then white just captured on d4. Appeared that there is a defense on e2, so position is no longer that clear. And well, no surprises. I started experiencing some problems and actually got into time trouble and was going to lose this on time, but then somehow found the way to run away from perpetual and then won the game. Yeah, that was just a lucky shot, I think. So probably there, somewhere there, white had a better way to play. Okay, in any case, now let's come back to normal order of challenges. Sebi was the first challenger tonight, so let's play Sebi. e4. And as usual, we're going to have this Ruy Lopez. Sebi started playing Ruy Lopez with both colors, I believe, not so long ago. So let's see what he has already learned here. D6. Okay, probably preparing bishop to e6, I think. That's the point. So what if we play knight c3, then bishop can go to g4 as well. So maybe we will spend the time on this move. And now knight to c3, head into d5 square. Let's try this way. There are plenty of different ways to play that, including c3, d4, or bishop e3, and so forth. So what about bishop e3 here? Because if I play knight e5, bishop d5, then knight e7, I don't see anything for white there. So I'm trying to exert some pressure on the center this way. So maybe I'm going to play d4. Maybe I'm going just to take on c5, and e5 will become slightly more vulnerable. So we will see. Okay, this sort of thing is quite pleasant usually for white. So I'm just taking on d4. If e4, then knight e2, and I'm not sure how black is going to protect d4. If bishop takes d4, I can basically provoke the same pawn structure, but now black definitely has a defense, so c5 is coming. So now there is the question, to put the knight on d5 or to put it on e2. I guess e2 is much more natural. But maybe I'm wrong, because there is c4 threat as well that I overlooked completely, because e4 is hanging. Such a terrible shape, I mean. I'm missing resources tonight. Okay, so to play c3 or not to play? That's the good question. Let's play c3, undermining the pawn. So basically, I achieved nothing. So I just improved black's pawn structure because there are no double pawns anymore. On the other hand, there is still this d5 square. There is still a possibility to come up with a d4 at some point. No. I achieved absolutely nothing. That is the result of the opening. Nothing. So now, to take on e6 or not to take? I don't think I have a choice. So let's take here, play rook a6, at least trying to attack something. So black's pawns are slightly vulnerable now. I'm trying to exploit it somehow. But if black reacts correctly, I think there is no chance for white. Kasparov asks, new haircut? No. An old one. You probably didn't see this one, but it's definitely not new. Okay, what happened? Queen to d7. Okay. Queen to d7. So what about queen b3 now? Like, exerting some sort of pressure on e6. Not completely sure in this move, but e6 is under pressure, b5 as well. So this doesn't give black a very simple possibility to play rook a8 or something. I'm gonna play another rook to a1 soon. Maybe there is something, maybe not. And now, another interesting question. To put the knight on a4 or to e2. I guess a4 slightly more logical because I have a threat of knight b6 at some point. I have a threat of e5 followed by knight takes c5. So let's try this one. But maybe it's a blunder because after knight a4, queen b5 is not entirely clear to me. Although I can take a lot of pawns, but that knight on a4, a bit strange. But anyway, I'm going to try this one. And now, what about e5? e5 looks very tempting. I mean, d takes c5, I just take on c5, attacking the queen and pawn on e6. Should be something for white there, I think. Feels like an extra pawn for white after all. So d5, knight c5, let's say queen to d5, right? I'll take on e6 with the rook. No, doesn't work. Doesn't work the way I wanted it to work. I mean, if I take on e6 with the rook, queen simply takes queen, knight takes, and rook takes d3. Regaining everything, and then my knight goes to c5, rook comes back to d5, or even goes to d2. Now, there is absolutely nothing for white there. Very hard to achieve in such a something in such a position where you have nothing. Where you simply have nothing. Okay, let's try this anyway. Correct. Correct. It's very close to a draw now. And who knows, maybe I will be the side making this draw after all. Yeah, I have slightly better pawn structure, but black has very active pieces. So I'm not sure this position is good. Not sure at all. Okay, I'll take here. We'll play this one. Okay, this is strange. Give him in the pawn. Okay, now it's winning. Obviously. Okay, so I was lucky. Only in a time trouble, actually, black misplayed this position. So in fact, everything that happened before the time trouble was completely okay. somewhere here when I took on e6, queen b3, knight b3, rook here, knight c5, rook d2, and b3. Okay. I'm not sure why black didn't play, for example, rook to... Okay, after rook to c8, I can take here. It's true. But I wasn't sure that it's great in general. Or maybe it is. Maybe it is not that simple. Maybe I underestimated my position, in fact. I have no idea what happens after rook d5. Rook takes d5, knight takes d5, where the knight goes. Let's say the knight goes to e4 or something. Now knight to c3 is possible. Yeah, but it's unclear. I mean, I can probably just protect it with the help of rook e1. Yeah, position is complicated, so maybe there was something for me. Maybe there was something for me. But I guess rook to d5 is absolutely safe, on the other hand. So, just protect the pawn. And I'm not sure where to go with the knight to start with. So almost every position is quite ugly for this guy. I wasn't sure about this. Rook d5 followed by king f7, so everything is protected. And yeah. So probably just equal positions, so very close to a draw. Very close to a draw. But once I won the pawn, of course, it was already different. Still here after rook e1, by the way, this move was absolutely playable. Absolutely. I mean, there should be no problem for black, because if I play knight e6, attacking b4, after rook b5, my knight is almost trapped. So I didn't want to play this position, although maybe it's okay, because to trap it, the rook should go to b6, let's say attacking, but then knight goes to c5, right? It takes a lot of time to control all the squares the knight could potentially occupy to trap it. So maybe I have something like f4 here. So not entirely sure, but knight f6 definitely gives me a pawn, so I captured. Now everything is protected, and the rest was just to try to convert the advantage, and I was quite successful. Okay, thanks for the game. The next is Wilhelm Mobius. Accept. e4. And Sicilian. I think we've played everything here. Because it's definitely not the first game. Definitely not the last game against Johan. Oh. What to play, what to try here. I've never played f4, I think. During Blitz shows. And against Johan. So let's try it. It's a super straightforward approach. I'm just heading towards the king side, and then at some point start the attack. If there is an attack, of course. So d5 square is my potential target, f5 as well. Once the f file becomes open, and in many cases it becomes open, when I can go through h4 to f5. That's another interesting possibility for white if compared to variety of other knight dwarf lines. And knight h5 already looks very dubious because there is no threat of knight g3. I control that square, but this gives me d5. Let's go there. Queen d8. Now I can grab on e5, I think, twice. Or maybe not. So if I take on e5, d5, knight e5, there is bishop h4 trick. Maybe I can play f5 instead. What about playing f5 here? Does it make sense? Well, the knight will go back to f6. I'm not sure it gives me anything. Very strange position. Anyway, gonna try this because this actually limits the bishop c8 a lot. And that goes back to f6. Maybe I will just grab the bishop and then bishop g5, something like this. Manuel Smile 10, please stop making this mess on chat. It's really something strange. I mean, the very first game was against you. So, everybody saw that. We have already played. I never played 2 games against the same opponent during 1 episode. So, please stop doing it. Otherwise, instead of actually playing chess and explaining the things, I will spend my time on blocking you from chat. Because it's really even annoying just reading this for me. Alright? Really distracting. So g6. What's going on here? What after bishop h6? Bishop h6, rook to e8, most likely. Still looks very nice. Even simple bishop e3 looks interesting, just controlling that b6 square indirectly, because b4 will follow. Very strange. g4 is also interesting now. g4, g4, g4. Tempting. Gonna play g4. Knight of 6. And here I wanted just to take and to play bishop g5. I think the spin will be decisive, more or less. It's a very strange combination of moves. I mean, g6, giving me, well, knight h5 first of all, giving me a chance to play knight d5. Then g6 weakening dark squares, so giving me a chance to take the bishop. Don't quite understand black's play here. And after knight takes d3, there is no defender of that knight anymore. I mean, knight d7 was probably the last chance to protect that knight after queen h4. So, it's over. It's over now. So I think everything started with the knight h5. Knight h5 was very, very dubious decision. But then it was still playable. I mean, after f5, I expected something like knight back to f6. That was probably a move. I wanted to take on e7 to play bishop g5, but with the pawn on g7, it's a different story. So it's still absolutely playable, in my opinion. Yeah, it's annoying, of course, because I have this maneuvers, knight h2, knight g4, but the knight can still go back to d7, so I think black can afford playing something like b6 here, preparing bishop to b7. The knight comes back to d7, overprotecting this knight f6. And it's still, well, very far from anything decisive for white. So I think if black even manages to play d5 at some point, but it's really hard to believe there will be a real possibility to do that. But still, if white doesn't find anything on the king side quickly, then position is absolutely normal for black, I guess. So g6 is just a serious positional mistake. So after that, I just take, play bishop to g5. Okay, the last chance was to save the knight on c5. I mean, to have this knight d7, but still, with so weak and dark squares around the king, this position isn't playable. Okay, next is formless. And I expected beating simply because I'm in such a bad shape. So, question, why don't you play against people which have not played you before? I do that at the very beginning of each and every episode. So first 3, 4, today was probably 5 games were exactly against people I've never ever played before. My goodness. That's amazing. Every time, well, this question, every time. Each and every show, each and every episode features this question. Although, well, it's every time the same system. So first 3, at max 4 games, sometimes a bit more, against people I've never ever played before. Then I come back to the normal order of challenges. Okay? So, what do we have here? Let's focus on the game. Let us focus on the game. Don G is here. Great. Great. So what are we going to do here? Probably to put the knight on e4 at some point. So a6 was played to prevent knight b5, so that bishop can occupy this normal position on d6 without being worrying about knight b5. Then rook e8, most likely. Okay, knight h4. Does it create a threat of knight f5? Yeah, most likely. So I'm tempted to play this g6, controlling that square. All right, now rook e8. Now rook e8. So queen c2. All right. Stop reading the chat. Andrey, just concentrate on the game. Because you're playing very strong opponents. Okay, I think this rook c8 is not terribly wrong. Overprotecting c7, maybe preparing c5 at some point. So at the better moment, it may be a good idea. Bishop h3 now, pinning the knight. d7. A rook on c8 is a bit misplaced. So yeah, let's improve it. Let's put it on d8 after all. Just to make this knight maneuverable, because I don't think I have a chance to play c5. Moreover, c5 is just something that helps white a lot to open up diagonal to get some objects of attack, so it's better to avoid playing c5. It's better to keep the pawn on c7. Okay, now let's try to find a better place for this guy. I guess it's time. It's time to occupy the central position. The right moment. The knight just went away. Okay, so what to do now? g5 is probably too much, right? about this move? So now at some point I will have the idea of g5, g4. But of course h5 should be protected to make this idea work. Knight e5, alright. What is the point? The point is that if I play f6, g6 is hanging, and knight c6 is a threat. Oh my god. I blundered that. I've just blundered this. I've just blundered this idea. Probably not the catastrophe, but still unpleasant, for sure. Oh, super complicated position. All right, let's take this one. And now I'm curious if I can do something like this. Something really typical, by the way. So knight takes f2. I was waiting for the right moment to sacrifice the knight like this. Let's go. Takes here now. Nice, isn't it? So bishop on b2 is hanging. Bishop on b2 is hanging. So I'm going to take the knight on f4 next move with the bishop. And then queen e2, queen b2. Looks like a possibility. Just regaining the piece, having some extra material, and position of white's king is completely weakened. Completely. G takes f4. Okay, queen f4, but queen e2. I don't think that I have to play. I should play anything else. I shouldn't play anything else. Come on, I'm just confusing words. What's wrong with me? When I have this super simple queen takes b2. So now 2 extra pawns for now. Of course, it will be different after queen takes c7. But it's not even about pawns, I guess. It's just about the position. So let's put the queen on b4, protecting b6. Intending rook to e1. A lot of different ideas, so just attacking d4 and so forth. I should be just technically winning position for black, but it's still complicated. So we still have to play this seriously and win it eventually. Okay, takes. King goes to g2. Now another check from e4, already attacking d4. It's important not to blunder the rook on d8 as well. Okay, now I can play queen f3, right? Very important inclusion. Now bishop on h3 is hanging. I can take it with check now. Oops! And winning the game, actually getting the positive score finally against Formless. Very strong opponent, super complicated game. I think white just forgot about this knight f2 sacrifice. In fact, this is very typical sacrifice in this type of pawn structure. So I was just waiting for a good moment to do that. By the way, after I played this knight to e4, white immediately prevented this knight takes f2 by playing knight to f4, protecting f2 pawn. And probably forgot at some point that this threat exists, because after knight e5, it definitely feels like, I mean, psychologically, I'm trying to understand the psychological background for this mistake. So it feels like completely safe now. And, well, this knight c6 was so tempting, but the point is that after knight c6, okay, queen goes away and the e-file is open. So knight takes f2 is very good. So queen takes e3, bishop takes f4. Everything is forced. I mean, white doesn't have really a chance, I think, to improve the the game. So if rook e1 or something intermediate, I still have the chance to play queen d2, so to get to the second rank. Right now, I have a threat of just taking on g3 with the bishop or with the pawn, or just playing queen e4 or anything else. So g takes f4 is forced. Now queen e2, queen takes b2, and so on. So black has extra pawn, but what is really important here is that the pawn structure is completely damaged now. There's too many weaknesses. No surprises, I quickly found the way to exploit it. So rook e1, takes here, check. King goes to f1. Yeah, because if king goes to f2, I take d4 with check. Now, obviously, there was a possibility to play rook e8, but I thought, okay, why not to include queen f3, because I have a sort of queen takes h3. The only move, I think, was king to g1 here, and now I can play this rook e8, creating a sort of rook e1 check, and then checkmate. The bishop is still hanging. Don't know what to do here. Probably queen to c3. But okay, after that, it should be somehow winning for black, right? Or not? Maybe not so simple. Maybe not so simple still. So king g1 was a move. King g1 was a move. Okay, queen f3, king g1. What if I start with queen to e3? Again, not so sure. I think I cannot take on h3 because after that queen takes here, and I don't have a chance to come up with the double attack against that rook, because next move will be exactly rook to g2 or f2, dependent on from which square black checks. So yeah, interesting. So after queen f3 position is not that simple. So it was possible to play king to g1 here. Rook f2, just another blunder, I think, in a hard position. In any case, very interesting game. Thanks for that. Let us continue. So next one is Graf von Paulin. Accept. Plan is black. Here we go. There was a suggestion to play queen to d1, but it doesn't give black anything, so king goes back to the second rank. And rook on c2 is protected by the queen. Probably after queen d1, just rook e8. Didn't know. Alright. Let's focus on this one. Okay, as usual, right? So knight c3. Have no idea. Let's try knight e4. I usually play g6 against Graf. And I know not only Graf, but let's try knight e4. In Pro Chess League, I played this line against Alexei Dreyev. At some point I was worse, and at some point I was just completely winning, and blundered. Simply blundered everything in the time trouble. That was really, really bad. Okay, let me remember what to do against e4. As far as I remember, knight c6 is possible. Or maybe I'm just confusing some lines. I don't remember what's going on here, because I play it so seldom. d5. Okay, so knight to d4. Maybe knight c6 is not the main move. I don't remember. Honestly, don't remember. Let's put it on d4. hard to understand even the idea behind all this, but I'm trying to utilize slight weakening of dark squares here, okay? Donji says Andrey's too hard on himself. It's allowed to play bad against Drave. I play bad against Claudia. Okay. No, I mean it's allowed, of course, but it's not allowed to lose the game when you have a winning position. Doesn't matter who's your opponent. Knight to f3. I think this gives me a chance to play bishop h5 right now. Pinning the knight. And creating a threat of just damaging the pawn structure. And if bishop goes to e2, I can grab the bishop, and I will have pair of bishops. Although I'm not sure it means anything here. There's also a possibility just to take everything on f3 there, and then to put the bishop on e5. Very strange position, but also probably absolutely playable. Okay, I'm going to try bishop h5 anyway. So to grab the bishop or to take everything on f3, that's the question. Let's try knight takes e2. So at least sort of achievement. I mean, pair of bishops, right? That's castle. But white has very strong center, of course. We shouldn't forget about that. It's a factor. Now it's time to define a position somehow in the center, I think. What about taking on d5 here? Trying to open up a position a bit. ed5, ed5. Alright, position is open now. I can put my queen on f6. This looks very promising, so I'm gonna take on f3, damaging the pawn structure at very least. Oh, I guess now black is doing very well. Queen d3. I think I don't have to hurry up with bishop takes f3 in such a situation. Let's play rook e8. I mean, b2 is heading, so if bishop goes to g5, I just grab b2 pawn. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my queen is trapped there. Maybe not. No, I think it is not, because e2 square is still at my disposal. So queen b2, if rook bf to b1, then I play queen e2, and I'm a pawn up. Alright. Kramnik student says, Andrey pretends to think and grabs bishop. Yeah, Kramnik student probably knows me better than anybody. And he knows my love of grabbing bishops with knights whenever there is a chance. Alright, let's take it. Okay, queen f5 was played. d7 is probably the target. Alright, it's time to simplify the things. Let's take the knight. Pawn is a pawn after all. And there is even more, I guess, after queen e5, attacking the bishop and pawn h2. Super efficient queen, attacking everything. Thing is, after queen h5, I have h6, right? Yeah, I'm just playing h6. Bishop is pinned, and if f4, queen d4 check, intermediate check, and then I grab the bishop. Yeah, and if queen g3 instead of queen h5, I wanted to grab the rook on a1, attacking the queen on g3. That was the idea. Okay, now I just grab this one. and protect f7 and take here. Everything is protected. There is no perpetual whatsoever. So let's just play like that. Yeah, it's over. It's over. So it was a very interesting game. In fact, I don't remember if knight c6 was with the main move here. I don't even remember if e4 was the main move. Yeah, so we have to check the database. No, I cannot even remember what happened in my game against Dreyev. What was the order of moves, if he played e4 or not, don't remember. Probably not. Because in that case, yeah, after knight c6, it feels like d5 is more or less forced, and that goes to d4. No, there was no such a possibility in that game. I don't remember if he played knight d2. Yeah, he probably played. But then, most likely, he played g3, followed by bishop g2, or maybe even h4. I don't remember. Don't remember. Okay, here after e4, I have a feeling that black is doing well, because knight cannot protect d4, then I grab e4 simply. So d5 is forced. Now knight goes to d4. Looks a bit vulnerable, but it can be protected by c5 or e5 if necessary, or simply exchanged for opponent's minor pieces like it happened in this game. So yeah, white has some space advantage here, but also the central pawns are quite vulnerable, so I have different ideas connect with attacking e4, d5, maybe f7, f5 at some point, and so on. So bishop d3, bishop d6. Now knight to f3 was probably not that great. I guess it was better just to castle. So castling was quite good. And then I'm not sure that black is that great, in fact. So there is just a very simple threat of playing f4. So black has to do something with that threat. Probably e5 is just good enough to equalize the position. Or maybe not, so this bishop is a bit stupid for now, but at some point it may become better. Especially if I manage to do something like, you know, a5, bishop c5, and so on. Maybe I should have played something like, you know, castling, maybe a5 to start with, but then just f4. Yeah, it's very dubious already. Yeah, I guess castling, simply castling was better. After knight f3, black has no problem, so I just take the bishop, I castle. Here there was a chance to play e5, maybe. But it's also not so clear. I mean, if it is good or not. Just play bishop here, and at any moment I can just undermine all these pawns. Maybe even sacrifice the one, but open up a position. It's easier now to open up a position. But after castling and ed5, this already looked very promising to me. I mean, after ed5, black simply has very straightforward play. Just every piece occupies the most natural position, and white is struggling, protecting everything. So it is actually ideal case for pair of bishops. Position is rather open. Bishops have no problems finding targets. But cd5 is not a solution as well, I guess. So after that, I basically do the same. So I just play rook e8 and exert pressure on the e file. So e4 is my target now. And still this idea of queen f6 exists and so forth. e5, by the way, is not a move here because of, for example, rook e8 and what to do with the d4, with the e5 pawn. I mean, knight is pinned. I'm going to either capture an f3 and then capture an e5, or capture an e5 immediately. It depends. And if white protects the pawn, then I just grab c4. I have extra pawn for nothing. So I guess castling instead of knight f3 was much better. Let's continue. Draw knife of death. Accept. Giovanni says Bielefeld won versus Kaiserslautern 3-2. You mean Armenia, or what is that? I don't know any other team in Bielefeld. Do you mean soccer at first place, or football? That's another name for this game, depending on where you are. So if you're from United States, you will probably call it soccer. If you're in Europe, you will call it football. So bishop a4, knight f6. Let's continue. Castles. Bishop e7. Ruy Lopez. Ruy Lopez. e4 is protected, which means e5 is hanging. So b5 should be played. Now d6. Let's play this line. A bit more aggressive if white gives me a chance to take on d4. I mean, a bit more aggressive if compared to majority of Ruy Lopez lines. There's black. All right, let's go. a4. The problem is that I don't remember what to do next. Yeah, so this knight g5 is very annoying. So if I play h6, there is f6. There is a very concrete order of moves, which gives black a normal position, but I don't remember the one. I just don't remember the one. It's very, very complicated line. And probably my opponent is just well prepared for it. Very nice. Of course I can play queen f6, blockading the pawn f5, but queen on f6 is not necessarily good. And there is already a problem with my bishop on g3, I mean, potentially. So, bishop h4, just knight takes h7. No, it doesn't work. I think bishop h4, just still f6. Very strong. Very, very strong. No, I don't remember the move here. As far as I remember, Svidler lost to Inarkiyev here as black. He also confused something in this position and was lost. Well, probably I can play knight d7, but I have a feeling it's a bad idea. Okay, let's try it. Oops. So. In general, it's a logical move, of course, just to bring the knight to f6, the bishop to e5, like slight regrouping, but it may be just refuted tactically, I think. If there is a tactical refutation, of course, but we'll see. So it's not my preparation, it's my opponent's preparation for the game. Let's have a look if he really has something. h6 is a mistake. h6 leads to f6 with a crazy attack. So that was the point. Okay, knight takes h7. What's going on? Why not king h7 here? So what's wrong with king h7? I know, let's check what's wrong with king h7. Okay. So what if I just... Aha. Yeah, it's probably just lost. Or very close to that. Yeah, I don't see a defense. It's just a very bad position. Okay, let's take. Hopeless. This is hopeless. Yeah, I should check this line prior to playing it next time. It's not my main weapon against Roy Lopez, just, yeah. Didn't check this theory for a long time here. Yeah, my opponent is just beating me. Queen d3 was very simple win. Attacking the bishop and h7 square, obviously. Just absolutely lost for black immediately. Checkmate threat and attacking the bishop, no defense. In this situation I'm still alive, but still, position is just terrible. I mean, really hard to survive it anyway. But look, my bishops control a lot of important squares. So g4, h4, my pawn f6 controls g5. My king can run to the center because there will be bishop e5 every time when there is a check on the e-file. Oh, but here is this. Yeah, this changes the situation, of course. Completely. But maybe there is still a chance, just a tiny chance, to run away. Like this. Okay. I'm running away. Feels like that, or not. There was a great chance for white to play rook 1 to a6, which again absolutely winning. Now it's not, I think. Now probably black is winning simply. No? What's wrong with this? My opponent is completely misplaying this position. Wow. Checkmate. My goodness, I was super lucky. In this game. So, all of a sudden, my opponent started playing really badly. Probably he was distracted. The first moment is here, move number 27. Just play queen d3, it's over. Bishop is hanging, h7 is hanging. Alright? Game over. Okay, queen h5 is also good. But queen d3 wins instantly. All right. Queen h5. Now rook e8. I expected something like bishop h6 here. Just controlling f8 square prevented my king from running away and should be checkmated very soon. Okay. But again, bishop h10 was also good enough. So check, check, takes. All this was okay. So very strong play. Queen g3, bishop g5. Great. I mean, king b6, rook a1. Great. Bishop b2, bishop e7. Great. Queen e7, just play rook a6. Game over again. Because if I take on a6, you just take my queen. So black can resign easily. If king goes to c7, then rook to c6. Black can resign. Here, I don't know. Queen g8 should be winning. Rook d6 should be winning. Everything should be winning here. But just play rook a6. So this rook a2 was very strange. Very strange. So after that, of course, black is doing fine, more or less. So now, of course, rook takes a1 was a move. This queen g4 was, again, very strange. So just queen e5, extra piece, extra minor piece, and black is winning. It's important not to actually blunder the checkmate on a5. That's the only problem. So queen can, at some point, just get to a5, right? But the rest is just, yeah. Amazing, amazing. There was a super luck. Okay, Edward. Accept. Finally, white pieces again. So at the very beginning I said it was ridiculous to play several games in a row as white. But now it feels like, wow, I want to play as white, not as black. What's going on? Where is Edward? He's probably sleeping already. Maybe not. So let's wait for, I don't know. No, it says Edward is online. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry. Next one. Schrummel. Schrummel. Let's go. Schrummel. Let's see if you give me a chance to get back to 3000 again. Catalan. Catalan. Something is definitely prepared, I guess. Because 1 week ago we played, I think, and there was also Catalan. Black should be okay here already. Because white failed to play e4. Now I control e4. There is no chance to occupy that square. But, well, it doesn't mean that black has no problems to solve. So potentially there are some weaknesses here in the center. So for example, sometimes it's possible to play with hanging pawns. But if white starts exchanging pawns in the center, I will probably recapture his pieces. So we'll see. E3 was played, okay. My opponent is playing very solid chess. It's really hard to beat him. What white is going to do in general? Maybe 95 sort of idea. Just slightly improve the position, since there is no real threat of playing e4. At least I think so. Bishop on d6 should be not that bad. Usually black develops the bishop to e7 just to avoid e4, d4, knight e4 attacking the bishop on d6. But e4 is kind of protected. So now against this, I wanted to take, and after ed4, to play queen to e7 simply. Yeah, I hope I don't blunder anything. So now d5 is protected by both the knight and the bishop. So if white takes on d5, there will be an isolated pawn on d4, and I will have already this blockading piece on d5. Supported several times, which is very nice. The idea behind queen e7 is just to coordinate rooks to bring the bishop to a3 or b4, depends. It's probably to a3. The main idea is to make d4 slightly vulnerable, but it's such a blunder. I mean, no, it's not a blunder, fortunately. I mean, I thought I blundered bishop a3, queen a3, knight e7, knight e7, cd5, but then I realized the rook on c1 is hanging, so pawn c4 is sort of pinned. Okay? So after rook c2, it is still pinned. So I can do something connected with bishop a6, maybe even, exerting some additional pressure on c4. Probably even intending to take on c4. Let's check it. I guess it shouldn't be that bad. Why not knight takes d5 instead of c takes d4? Because d takes c5 winning the piece to x. Bishop b2 protects the pawn on e5. Strange question. Probably it's already late. So d takes c5, knight e7. Pawn c4 is still pinned. Now, do you know what could be my next move? What could be my next idea? I was going to try something like rook c5. Or maybe, yeah, rook c5 looks interesting. Looks like a multi-purpose move. But then knight b1 may be annoying. Yeah, knight b1 is kind of possibility now. Should be careful about that. Maybe I can just take on c4 now. Now let's take the pawn simply. And take again. If rook c4, then a2 drops. If bishop c4, then queen e3 and knight e5. Kind of achievement. Kind of achievement. Pawn is a pawn. Right? Right. Ostrovskiy says, I'm an old man. Then Artur Nowrowski says, me too. Dutch Defender says, and me. Okay, guys. Me too. We're all oldies here. Okay, nice position for the knight. Down G. Me too. Should we use me too hashtag for it? What do you think? Just kidding, guys. Sorry. Okay, I misplayed it. Look at this. I've just misplayed it. Oh my god. I don't see how to actually deal with this red off. Yeah. Fantastic. It's already equal. And I'm in a severe time trouble. I just lost the pawn. Just lost the pawn. Queen h1 was possible. Although not sure if it was anything. Again, super lucky, super lucky. So I misplayed it, well, like a complete patter. I mean, I was joking about me too, which was absolutely inappropriate. There was a punishment, by the way, for joking about it. So, okay, queen b1 was okay. Bishop to f1 and a5. All this looked very natural. So now rook here. Knight to c5. Rook to d6. So what to do here? Maybe I missed something right here in this position. Yeah, knight b3 was already wrong, I think. Maybe even a5 was already wrong. But what to do if not that? So rook a4, queen b1. Bishop f1. All right. a5 should be played. Rook to d4. Probably there was not so much, in fact, because of white's activity. So knight to c5. Rook to d6. Okay, I could have captured on b3 with the queen. And after exchange of queens, rook here, knight to d4. Something like this. So creating a threat of this. I mean, if white attacks a5, I just take this one, and, well, it's not the decisive advantage probably, but still a position with great chances to win. We have pawns on one flank, and in such a situation, knight is usually better than the bishop, and black will have extra pawn. But what if, let's say, white plays on like king g2, or even better, maybe bishop to g2. Controlling a8, and now rook a6 is kind of threat. But in this case, of course, I can play rook c8 grid instead of rook c1. So I have some tempi here, as we can see. All right, so let's say king g2. But in this case, I have this. And I protect the pawn. Yeah, that was correct. So I should have captured with the queen. I should have taken with the queen on b3. But okay, I was a bit distracted and lost my concentration. So white somehow misplayed it as well, somewhere in the opening, I guess. So all this play, I mean, rook c1, rook e1, e3 is not ambitious. So you have to prepare e4 earlier when they have a queen c2, and that is the most promising plan. Here, as you can see, when I control e4 sufficiently, well, white has nothing, all right? But queen e2, bishop a3, probably you should have tried this move. Just knight f3, protecting the bishop, protecting your knight on e5, protecting everything, hence. And if I take, you take with the queen, you have very pleasant position. I mean, everything looks placed logically in this situation. Bishop a3 gives me a lot of freedom. Of course, still knight f3 was possible, no questions. Yeah, knight f3 was better than rook c2, I guess. So now when I have this pin, I start exerting some pressure. I start doing something. So queen to e3, dc4. Yeah, and the rest is just, we already saw that. So knight e5, if you take with the queen, I think I can do something very similar. So knight to d7 is possible. Also, rook to d8 is possible. I want to understand what happens here. If you take on d5, I have queen c1. Rook takes check. Then you have to play something like knight f1, or bishop f1 to know what is better. Both moves look not very good. Okay, let's try this. Knight f1. But it's not a big difference. It doesn't make a big difference. So I just take on d5 with the knight. I probably have just technically winning position with two rooks against the queen. Okay, so cd5 is not possible, but there are some ideas always connect with the c5, although I'm not sure that it works in this particular case, because I have bishop d3 always, and so on. So position is a bit unpleasant, but, well, maybe knight b1 is something that, anyway, helps you to feel all right, more or less. So it should be something around equality, but probably black has some slight initiative, which is annoying. Okay. Let's probably play the last game, because it's already very late. So Cobra. Accept. And white pieces. Okay, usually that is something about Caro-Kann, right? When I play against Cobra. Let's try to play something different this time. All right, e6 and c6, slightly passive, I guess. I mean, against this order of moves, it's a bit passive. So I'm not forced to play d4, c4, which leads to normal Catalan, just like in the previous game. I can play this way. Now what about taking with the knight? Slightly unusual. But with the bishop on d6 hanging, I think it makes sense to try that. Okay. This is, in my opinion, another inaccuracy. I would have played queen c7, controlling e5, and trying to play e5 myself as black. Now I can try e5, grabbing the space. Maybe bishop f4 also deserves attention. I'm not sure which one is better. I'm tempted to play both, but... Okay, let's start with bishop f4. I mean, it would be nice to exchange the dark squared bishop like this. And queen takes. Again, I'm not sure that black's best choice was to take on d6. I would have played something like knight to b6, trying to force white to take on e7. And then queen e7, improving slightly the position of the queen, preparing rook d8 and so forth. This position looks very pleasant for white. But maybe it's just pleasant and not more than that. Don't want to exchange queens here. Feels like my queen controls a lot of important squares. Okay. All right, queen c7 now. I guess it's time to play e5. Yeah, it's just time to stop the pawn on e6. Playing against light squared bishop, first place, and also just trying to make use of black's weakened dark squares. Okay, let's play c4. Just gradual squeeze. All right, now it's an interesting question. So initially I wanted to go back to d4 with the queen, but now I see that queen d6 also deserves serious attention. So look, after queen d6, knight is hanging, queen is protected by the knight, so queen d6 is forced. E d6, knight goes away, knight goes to e5, attacking c6. This also looks almost decisive, so let's try it. I think e d6 should be even... Oh no, there's rook d8, oh my god. Yeah, it's definitely late, so queen takes d6 is not forced. Queen takes d6 is not forced. But my opponent still played it. Alright. Now I have very strong passed pawn and my knight gets this super square on e5. Knight e5. Now it's over. c6 drops. And the mission complete. Bishop g2 was placed here to be active at some point. Now it happened, finally. Let's take it. Very pleasant position. Next move is knight c8. All right. One rook goes to d1, another one to c1, then before c5, game over. Right? No. We should spend some time on playing b3, a3, b4. King f8 was the only chance to stop me. On the other hand, if he plays king f7 now, And I play c5, bc5, bc5. Yeah, rook c6 is still a possibility, actually, to blockade my pawns. So, it's not like automatic win, but it's still absolutely winning position, of course. I'm not in a rush to play anything there, so I can centralize my king, which can be also helpful here around my pawns. So now c5, right? Now c5. Oh, no. This is not what I expected for sure. So now these pawns are so great. They're protected. So many different ways to win this. So many different ways. Let's put the rook here, let's say. And king here. Yeah. So, was an interesting game. But black just gave me a lot. Just gave me a lot of chances, a lot of tempi, and so forth. So first of all, if you play c6, d5, then of course you should develop your bishop first, and then play e6. So bishop g4 or bishop f5, both are playable continuations, and then e6. If you play e6, on the other hand, it's better to have the pawn on c7, to have knight to c6 move preparing e5, just like I play usually. So I play like, let's say, knight f3, d5, g3, or knight f3, knight f6, doesn't matter. Like e6, castles, bishop to e7. And now, if d4, then you castle and Catalans. So you can play c6 and so forth. If d3, on the other hand, you just castle, and if knight e2, you play knight to c6. And after e4, you just take, and e5. So we can check games of Aronian as black. So he started playing this knight c6. Just a good idea in my opinion. Okay, so c6, e6 is kind of mix, which is not very good against d3 followed by e4. It's still playable. I mean, you should just ignore. White's play. You should just castle, let's say. And if I play here, intended e5, you can probably choose between queen c7 or e5. So it's still a complicated position. I don't know who benefits from this. So black definitely spent some time on not necessary pawn moves, but I don't see a direct way for white to exploit it. So it's okay. But de4 is already a concession. So after this, as you can see, I have a lot of tempi and very easy plan now. So even if you protect the bishop, I can try knight e2 followed by knight c4. So your bishop becomes my target. So it becomes very vulnerable. Bishop e7, bishop f4 castles, and bishop d6. As you can see, I exchange correct pieces and you have great problems with completing a development. So it doesn't matter what happens next. If you manage to exchange my queen or not, well, you still have this great problem. So this bishop remains very, very passive. So if you have a chance to avoid such a position, you should do it. Okay? All right. In any case, thanks a lot, guys. We did like 2 hours, right? More or less, which is nice. So wish me good luck for this next 4 days. So last rounds of Bundesliga, Blitz tournament tomorrow, and all the things, right? I need luck badly, and I think I will have more chances if you will pray for me. Something like this. All right. Thanks a lot. Hopefully you learned something new watching my games and following my commentary. If yes, I'm happy. That is why I'm here, by the way, to teach you some chess, right? See you next week. Wish you all a great weekend. Bye-bye.